Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi.
I know it's lunchtime for most of you, or a little bit after lunch, so thank you very much for coming, first of all. My topic today is very much related with what happened on the 11th May 2016. My father was executed by the government of Bangladesh, and that summarizes the state of Islam, democracy, and human rights in Bangladesh in a nutshell. My father was, as most of you are aware, Ghulam Ali Faisal talked about him. He was not only a political leader, he was an Islamic scholar as well. He dedicated his life on da'wah. He wrote numerous books, and he was one of the most popular political figures in the country. He was elected as member of parliament many times. He was a successful minister that was running the government in the immediate past. And his execution, that's why, summarizes what is happening in Bangladesh. Today I will be not talking too much about my father specifically, but whatever I will be talking encompasses what happened and why it happened to my father. So it is actually very, very much related. The sun of democracy, human rights, as well as freedom in Bangladesh has set on the 20th October of 2006. So it will be almost close to 10 years in marking. The people lost their right to vote. People lost their right to speak their mind. And our beloved religion, Islam, is under attack now. And it all started on the 20th October of 2006. And that was the last day of an elected government in Bangladesh. After that, in January 2000, first election took place in December 2008, and then another election took place in January 2013. But all those elections were not accepted by anybody in the international arena. I will take you down to the memory lane a little bit so that you get an overview of what actually happened throughout in Bangladesh, so that you get a complete picture. But we are having time constraints, so I will not be spending too much time. I will be very brief, very specific. As you all know, when the British left the Indian subcontinent, which encompasses Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan in 1947, we had two geographic countries. One was India and one was Pakistan. And Pakistan was a land that was supposed to be the land. The word Pakistan actually stands for Holy Land. That was supposed to be the holy land for entire Muslim Ummah. Unfortunately, when the Pakistan was formed in 1947, it was marred by military regime, and when military regime runs a country, everything goes wrong. So Pakistan could not live up to the expectation. And at the same time, if you look into that time, Pakistan was the largest Muslim country of the world. A lot of people around the world was looking up to Pakistan at that time, and Bangladesh was East Pakistan at that time. If you read the books written by retired Indian intelligence people, there is a very famous book that's called Cowboys of India, spelled with K-A-O. General Cow was the founder of Indian intelligence organization called RAW, Research and Analysis Wing. It was formed in 1965. And if you read that book, from the very inception, the job of RAW was to break up Pakistan. That was their modus operandi, that was their ultimate objective. So they started working since 1965, and they became successful in 1971. I'm not saying that there was no discrimination that took place. As I say, when military runs the country, everybody is discriminated against. So in 1971, 16th December was a very sad day for Muslim Ummah because the largest Muslim country was divided. A new country was created, and that was Bangladesh, where I was born in 1977, 6 years later. Whatever the emotion is, that breakup of Pakistan was contrary to what Brother Yahya recited at the very beginning, and that was the reason most Muslim political and religious leaders at that time wanted to unite Pakistan at that time, no matter what. And my father, being the Najima, the president of Jamiyat al-Talaba, which is the largest student organization of the world, at that time he played his political role at that time, trying to prevent the conflict between the Bangladeshi people and Pakistani army. But if you read that in broad landscape, it was actually the agenda of RAW. And the reason at that time all the Muslim and Islamic political and religious people did not want East Pakistan to separate from West Pakistan was, first of all, you were breaking up the largest Muslim country of the world. Second of all, if you look at the geography of Bangladesh right now, former East Pakistan, from three sides, it is surrounded by a very hostile country called India. And on the other side, on the southern side, we have Bay of Bengal. We have a very small little border with Myanmar, but that's negligible. You will not find a second country in the world, except probably Palestine, that has this kind of geography. That means whatever discrimination, suppression you were talking about from the western side, if you were separated, you will be even more endangering yourself, because India, from the very get-go, historically was never cordial with Muslims. They're very hostile against Muslims historically. That was the reason. If you are a little bit uncomfortable with our West Pakistani brothers, you would be 100,000 times more discomfortable in the newly formed country, and that's exactly what's happening. Bangladesh is independent only by name. Bangladesh is a country that is virtually run from Delhi. The general mass never got a chance to properly be educated about Islam, but from the heart, majority of the Muslim people loves Islam. That's why the process was very, very clinical. This group never wanted Bangladesh to be absolutely secular or socialist or communist. Rather, the proclamation of independence were equality, justice, and dignity. And all three things are gone right now in Bangladesh. Right after the independence, the government led by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman started to slowly remove all the signs of Islamic culture from the arena. The four pillars of constitution became socialism, democracy, secularism. From the symbol of Dhaka University, you had Iqra bismi rabbika allazi khalaq, that has been removed. So slowly, the Islamization process started. And finally, in 1975, the democracy was also taken off. Bangladesh became one-party country. BAT, Bakshal was formed, which is known as Bangladesh Krishak Shramik League. That was the only political party that was allowed. Everything else was banned. All the newspaper except for one was banned in 1975, and the result is obvious. From a group of army, as well as from a group of his own party, there was a coup, and and Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, along with every single member of his family, was killed. The only two survivors were two sisters, and one of them is the current Prime Minister of Bangladesh. Now, after that era, people got a little bit of breathing room. General Ziaur Rahman came to power. He formed a political party called Bangladesh Nationalist Party, which ran the country until 1981, and slowly the space for democracy was opening up. During the era of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman until 1975, all the Islamic political party was banned. Ziaur Rahman respected the spirit of Muslims in the country and added Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim as part of the constitution. Added In Allah We Trust as part of the constitution. Although Islamic education never still flourished, but that made way for Islamic work to start. Jamaat Islami, the flag-bearer political party of Islam in Bangladesh, started to creep its way. In 1979, there was an election. You cannot call it a free and fair election. It was still a military-controlled election, but still there was breathing room. And General Ziaur Rahman was getting popularity every day. Unfortunately, he was martyred in 1981, and another dictator took over the country in 1981. There was a long struggle for democracy for 9 years, and along with everybody else, the Islamic political parties were very vocal, particularly Jamaat Islami on the street. In 1991, for the first time, Bangladesh saw the fruit or smelled the fruit of democracy. For the first time, and probably you can say the only time, there are a few other occasions, Bangladesh saw the free and fair election. And that election was done under a prescription by Jamaat Islami, which was a very unique formula at that time. The concept was a caretaker government formula, which says that the immediately passed Chief Justice will lead the interim government, and that government will run the election. And the job of the government is just to run the election, that's it. And after that, they will leave the power. So that concept was developed by the then Amir Jamaat Islami, Professor Ghulam Azam, and it was accepted. And right now we are seeing many countries accepting that caretaker formula because nobody trusts the incumbent government to have a free and fair election. And latest example is Brazil. Brazil right now has an interim government. So this concept is becoming a phenomenon, and it's a new thing in the arena of political science. So in 1991, for the first time, election took place. In 1996, another election took place, and the Awami League came to power. And in 2001, another election took place, and BNP, with the coalition of Jamaat Islami, came to power. So these were the three terms where people saw that incumbent government failed in the national election and new government came to power. And in 2001, in that election, Jamaat Islami shared the power with BNP, and my father became minister for the first time in the country. And he was in charge of industries ministry. At first he was in charge of agriculture ministry, and then later on he became in charge of industries ministry. Now, in these 15 years, even with limited scope, democracy was flourishing, and that gave tremendous opportunity for da'wah of Islam. If you take a sample before 1991 and after 1991, you will see there is a tremendous difference in the level of education about Quran, about Islamic concept in the country, and that was possible